Represented here we have Russia, Japan, China, and Germany, as well as Snuffy from our domestic show. The Primo one is hanging from the rafters over at Astoria Studios. But we have both rod puppets, live hand puppets, and walk-arounds.
This is a sculpture made by John Henson. It's installed into the wall here, and it's inspired by a smaller work of art that Jim Henson made in a small embroidery hoop with 2 eyes and a mouth. This is interactive, so you can move it around like that. And it just is an example of how little adjustments in the features can really affect the character. This is a stack of puppets from Julie's Green Room for Netflix with the iconic Julie Andrews. These are stars of the show with Julie. And each of these puppets, they're hand and rod puppets, and the heads are built out of a block of foam that is cut with a bandsaw, snipped with a curved scissors, sanded on a belt sander, and then flocked. And they're just a great example of that method of puppetry.
These two characters, very much to my heart, they are actually from a project that was one of the last projects that Jim Henson worked on before his passing. And he had us fully realize them. They were recorded. It was meant to go into production, and it was never picked up. So these wonderful characters have never actually seen their due, but these are all walk-arounds. You'll notice that the head is above the performer's head, so therefore these are supported by a flagpole holder that have the various mechs on them that can be controlled. Silly Bobo over here would be controlled like Big Bird with the hand above the performer's head to operate that hand. Beak, however, was more of a movement-oriented character, so therefore the head is mounted on a helmet, but both arms could be in the wings and therefore add to that choreography. Oscar here, of course, represents also the domestic production of Sesame Street. Don't give him attitude and you'll be fine.
This is Kermit the Frog, of course. He's part of a parody photo series parodying great works of art. It's called the Kermitage Collection, and he's parodying Blue Boy. These puppets, these tiny little wonders, are from a short film that we made as a part of an advertising campaign for an insurance company in Australia, and Tall Poppy is the featured character, and these are all part of that cast. They're tabletop puppets, so each little puppet is manipulated by 3 puppeteers. So one puppeteer has the head and the body, the second puppeteer is manipulating the hands, and then the third puppeteer is down low manipulating the feet. And it's called tabletop puppetry because it's traditionally performed on a table. Now this was shot on blue screen, so these, you can see the blue tape or the blue fabric on the cables and the rods coming out of the back of the puppets, and that's because we shot it that way and the puppeteers would have been wearing blue suits.
These two characters are actually reproductions that we did recently for the movie SNL 1975. For the initial episode, Jim Henson and his team created a cast of characters that were going to be written into the various episodes. But these are, as I said, reproductions. You can see the originals at MoMI.
This is a stained glass window, actually 2 windows that were attached together, gifts for Jim Henson. They show, this hung in his office. They show famous best friends, Bert and Ernie, and then right below, Jim Henson and Frank Oz, and you can see Jim has 2 hands up in the air, one going through Ernie's body into the head, the other one in the hand for the live hand puppet, and then Frank has one hand up through the body into the mouth, and the other hand is holding onto a rod, manipulating Bert's rod arm. And they're both looking down at a monitor there, and the image is flipped.
Fraggle Rock was a series done for HBO in the early 80s and late 70s. This is actually Junior Gord from that original series, refurbished and relegated to exhibit purposes, of course. But these characters were refurbished and used for the recent reboot for Apple TV, Back to the Rock.
This is the Skeksis throne. It was a part of the Dark Crystal movie. We do have a 13-episode prequel that was on Netflix, or is on Netflix, but this throne is from the actual movie, which is a really special piece. You can take a picture sitting in it, just one at a time. And if you're performing a Skeksis in this throne, we would take these two cushions out, and the performer would be back here behind, reaching their arm through, manipulating the puppet.
You might have noticed this reception desk, beautiful marquetry and inlay work, showing several of the classic Muppet characters representing the various arts and sciences and various disciplines. This was designed by Jim Henson's art director, Michael Frith, and he's actually seen in this photo back here. The artist is signed here. Anybody can read it. You figure that out, let me know.
And then this photo right here is from one of the early seasons of Sesame Street. You can see all the puppeteers are standing with the puppets held up above their heads. Bert and Ernie's bedroom floor is at the performer's shoulder level, and the cameras are petted up high, and that so the puppeteers have maximum versatility. They can move around underneath the puppet, and they're all looking down at a monitor. So that is the innovation that Jim Henson brought to puppets on television. He said, if you give me that monitor, I can look down and adjust my performance live in real time, look directly at the audience at home, follow the action within the frame, pop in and out like that classic Grover bit, near and far, all because I'm looking down at this monitor. Everything follows. The eye focus, it's always a little bit cross-eyed because it's looking down at the singular frame of the camera, and the triangle between these 2 points of focus of the eyes and the mouth. And then the materials that we use, they're rigid enough to hold their shape, but soft enough to really be able to manipulate them and create all the subtleties of performance that the Muppet puppets are known for. And this is how puppets on television is shot now. Everyone does it this way, but this is where it started. So we're going to break into our two groups.